Now, I rarely use the word game changer because most things, they're convenient, they help you do what you're doing better, but they're not changing the game. But the Xtalk intercom system is a game changer for me, for real. And when you think about a headset intercom system, you might think about things like a film set or some sort of production where you have, a lot of people that need to communicate, and something like this makes sense. But as a photographer and videographer for client work, this intercom system has absolutely changed the game for me. Now, if you do things, if you're a one-man band, you don't have an assistant, these things aren't really going to matter to you, or you're not going to be able to relate. But for me, having my field assistant with me, being able to communicate with her in an easy way is absolutely critical, and the Xtalk Xpro5 system has changed the game for both of us in that regard. Now, I want to talk about something first, I guess, to address maybe the naysayers or the people that would be rushing to go down into the comments. I quickly want to talk about why something like this, a intercom headset system, is better than just using walkie-talkies, because people will say, well, just use walkie-talkies, it's the same thing. There's two main reasons why something like this headset is much better than a walkie-talkie. Number one, hands-free. Okay, both of my hands are free. And as a content creator, I need my hands. My assistant, she needs her hands. Now, of course, with the walkie-talkie systems, if you have one that's a little bit more high end, or if it has the option, you can plug the headset into it. But the problem with that is you always have to push a button to talk, even when you have the headset system. Whereas with this here, it's just always on. And if I want to not have my assistant be able to hear what I'm saying, I just flip the microphone up and it cuts the communication. And then boom, when I bring it back down, that communication is back there. So being able to communicate hands-free is just a lifesaver. And the second thing is, with most walkie-talkies, if not all walkie-talkies, they're only one direction. So if I'm holding the button and I'm talking, the person that's receiving it can't talk at the same time. If you've ever used walkie-talkies, you've heard the dreaded, you try to hit it and you get that tone that's letting you know that the other person is already hitting it. So it's only in one direction. And that makes communication tough, because when you have a regular conversation, especially when you're giving someone instructions, or if you're, trying to figure something out, you're not always just going, okay, I'm going to talk. Okay, I'm done talking, over and out. Now you talk. Okay, over and out. With this, it's a full duplex. So it's both ways. So we can talk at the same time, like we're talking on the phone. Being able to communicate with my assistant is the reason why I'm saying it's game changing. And because I can do it in a way to where I can still have my hands, I can communicate, she can communicate, we can go back and forth. It just has completely changed the way that I handle my assignments. And it's something that you don't realize the impact and the effect that it can have on you until you have it. And then you start to question how you ever managed without it. Now, for many years, I didn't have an assistant, so something like this would not have mattered. But if you have an assistant, obviously, if you're doing like films, if you're on film sets or production sets, things like that, I think you can clearly understand the benefit of having something like this. So I really want to keep this in the realm of photographers and videographers when it comes to client works or collab shoots or something like that. If you have an assistant, or if you just have people that you need to communicate with for whatever reason, having an intercom system like this, I'm telling you, is going to completely change the game for you, because it allows communication to happen so seamlessly. So you're able to resolve problems, or you're able to communicate your needs or whatever in such a quick and efficient way that it just makes doing your job easy. There's a lot of times where I'm on an assignment and I'm at one end of the room, my assistant is on the complete opposite end of the room, or I'm in a room conducting interviews and, she's in a completely other room corralling the person that's going to be next for the interview. Or, we're kind of in the same space, but she's working with the talent. I'm back here with the camera, and I can just easily communicate with her, hey, have them move to the left a little bit, without having to be loud and yell, or without having to let my client or the people that are there know what we're talking about. Not that we're talking about anything that we shouldn't be, but there's some things where it's just like it's internal communication that the client doesn't necessarily need to hear. And so having a system like this makes that communication so much easier. I don't like talking about things like they're just so great. And it's been a long time since I have used a product that I really feel changed the way that I do what I do and makes things so much easier. And I really have to say that this system has done that for me. Now, to be completely transparent, Synco did send me this to test out, but I could tell you, if I would use something like this, so let's say they didn't send this to me to test out, and I would have been able to use something like this on a job, I would have bought it. That's how much it has changed things for me. When you are in a service-based industry, time is money, right? So the reality is, the way that a lot of our pricing works, let's say, for example, you have a photo session and that session is slotted for an hour. So you base your pricing off of that hour. And the goal was to be able to get everything done that you need to get done within that hour. Well, being realistic as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we allot an hour, but ideally we would like to get the job done faster than that. If we can get the job done in 45 minutes or 30 minutes, that's even better, because that's 30 minutes that we get back. We still charge the client what we charge. We're not refunding them based off of the time. So if I can execute a job 20% less time, 30% less time, 40% less time, because I'm able to communicate with my assistant very quickly and we just now can do things very time efficient, I'm all about that. And it only takes a few jobs where you're saving time, where a system like this really pays for itself. You know what I mean? And so having this has just been an absolute joy to use. And I think my assistant likes it as well, because there's some things, that she's doing that she might be doing for the first time. So she needs a lot of instruction. It would be very difficult to do that if we had to be in close enough proximity for me to be able to talk to her, or if we had to sit there and be on walkie-talkies the whole time. So now as I'm, trying to man the camera, I'm having to hold a walkie-talkie. I'm trying to talk to her while I'm trying to do this. The client is looking at me like, what are you doing? What's going on? And so just being able to communicate so effortlessly has been a dream. Now, I'm not a big spec guy, but I'm going to throw some specs on the screen of this, so that way for the people that care about the specs, you can see what those specs are. For me, I'm more of a, how does it work in the field? I don't really care about the specs. Does it do what I need it to do? And this absolutely does what I need it to do. And one thing I do want to touch on spec wise is the latency. So I know a lot of people are going to wonder, what is the latency between, me talking and the headset. So right now I have the headset. The reason why I have this on is because I have another headset that's got a microphone attached to it. So then that way I can play this audio and you'll be able to hear the delay between my actual voice and the other headset. Now, I don't know in terms of like milliseconds what the delay is. What I can tell you is there is a delay. So it isn't, 1-to-1 in terms of, when I'm talking, you can hear there is a delay. For me, it's not an issue, because for the most part, my assistant is never right next to me to where she would be able to hear my voice and hear me coming through the headset to where it would be a problem. And it's not enough of a delay to where it would really be any issue. But I do want to give you the opportunity to be able to hear the delay. So you've been able to hear it since I've been talking. So there you have that. One of the things that I really love about this Synco system that elevates it above some of the other ones is that in the headset, there's a 3.5 millimeter jack for you to be able to monitor audio. I have used that countless times in doing interviews. Interviews is something where I'm always monitoring the audio. A lot of other jobs I do, I don't really have to worry about the audio too much. But when I do interviews, I absolutely monitor that audio. And so being able to have my intercom system and be able to monitor audio all within the same unit just makes it just such a dream to use. And I don't want to keep saying that word and just talking crazy, but to be able to have this and then not have to have something separate to monitor audio, or have to decide, do I want to monitor audio? Do I want to have my comm? Do I have to take my comm off when I got my audio, monitor my audio? To be able to have my comm and be able to monitor audio is amazing. It all comes through the same thing. And so it's just very easy to be able to communicate, monitor audio, pay attention to the video camera. It's like when we're out there, we're doing so many things at the same time that it's like when you have a tool that makes it easier for you, again, it really pays for itself after a while. And that's really what this has been. So I love this thing. I use it on every job where my assistant is with me. And I don't think that I would be able to operate it without it at this point. This is definitely something for me that will always be with me. I will always use it because it just makes life better.